Okay, we're recording and getting started with the empathy circle. This is just sort of the beginning of kind of the circle process. We hope this will become a series. Leah, do you want to share, just give a little background to this short intro, what we're doing here, and then I'll explain how this circle works, and since you're the organizer.
Yeah, sure. This is just an attempt to get folks from XR to sit down and talk about one of the issues that's affecting XR nationwide right now, that there are two groups, and I'm trying to make my take the emotional charge out of my language. I'm trying to be very neutral, as you can tell. So there are two groups, XR America and XR US. They're not really, it's more of an affiliation. And that is causing some distress, and that's causing some clash and some questions. And it's not to imply that this is nationwide, nor is it necessarily every chapter. This is just something that I have noticed in California. So, and others can speak for themselves from other locations. But I'm hoping that this can, the process can start being able to create an environment that's a little bit more calm and open toward communicating together and avoiding conflict. So.
Yeah, okay, well, thanks. And it's also this process, the empathy circle process helps to work out conflict. It can help head off conflict before it happens. And if conflict is there, to help unravel it. And our intention is just to foster mutual understanding and connection between, all the participants. And I don't know if everyone knows how the process works. It's a fairly simple process where one person will be the speaker. They'll select who they speak to. You'll speak on the topic. I think our topic is how do we bridge the divides that are happening in XR. Just sort of beginning on that. And you can also talk about anything that's alive for you, just anything that's on your mind too. You don't have to stay specifically on topic. So if you have a lot of energy around something, feel free to talk about that. And we do have another person. So,
last minute, we're just opening up, and this is being recorded. If you're comfortable with that, thumbs up. If you're not, you're comfortable. Okay.
Great. I was just explaining how the process works. Welcome, Danielle. So in this process, the empathy circle, one person will speak on the topic of how do we bridge the divides in XR, what comes up for you. And you can also talk about whatever is alive for you, meaning just whatever you have kind of on your mind or heart. You select someone to speak to. You say you speak for, an idea or two, and then you want to pause. And then the listener is going to reflect back their understanding of what you said to your satisfaction. And then if you check, was I understood? And if so, you continue speaking. If you weren't understood, you can say it again in other words, perhaps. And your listener is going to reflect back their understanding in their own words, what they understand you are saying. And the whole point is, as the speaker, you want to feel heard and understood to your satisfaction. So you're just checking out, do they really get what I say? And then, if they do, great, you continue. And if they don't, you say it again, get that reflection. We have 5-minute turns, and I'll keep time. And when the time is up, for the speaker, I'll hold up the time here. And at that point, you want to sort of wrap up, and you get your final reflection from the listener. And then it becomes the turn of the listener to become the speaker, the active speaker. And they select someone in the circle here to speak to and speak on the topic. They get a reflection pause, and it kind of goes back. And so we're going to just go for the time allotted. I think we're going for about an hour or so. We'll see how it goes. I think we're just kind of getting started with this process now, and we hope to do a whole series on this. So the one thing is if you're a listener and the speaker kind of goes for, saying a lot, you can interrupt, say, oh, can I just reflect back? But as the listener, you don't want to add any questions, add your own ideas, make judgments. any criticisms. When it's your turn, you can do all those things. There's no political correctness. You can be as nasty as you want when it's your turn. And whoever you're speaking to will empathize with you, but then you got to be able to listen to the other person for if they're nasty too, or mean or whatever. So that's kind of like the ground rules. And yeah, and everybody's kind of equal in this circle. You know, as a facilitator, I'm just trying to keep everybody in the process, but I don't get any extra time or anything like that. So,
not have any input, or like you're not there to mediate or insert your own interpret or do anything like that. You're simply here to enforce a structure of conversation.
Yeah, and then when it's my turn to speak, I can say anything I want, just like everyone else. So I think the best way is just to get started, to jump in. And anybody want to start? You could maybe speak to me so I can model the listening, or whatever, and I'll keep time too.
So as I understand it, there's two people. One is actively speaking, one is actively listening, and then the remainder, which in this case would be three, would be observers.
Correct. And so are you speaking to me now? So it sounds like you're starting. So what I'm hearing is you're trying to kind of explain how the circle process works, and I'm starting the time, and that you're explaining that there's a listener and a speaker, and the rest are silent listeners who don't interrupt. And you're just kind of wanting to check if that's accurate.
Okay, cool. So I'll begin. I kind of prepared a little bit by thinking about what are some feelings I'm having today about this whole conflict. And one thing I'm feeling is frustration. I'm feeling really frustrated with it seems like people are unable and unwilling to talk or be open, to the point where they're close to even me suggesting having a talk, or having any kind of, like, me calling it bridge building is charged, like everything is very charged, and I feel very I feel very shut out. I feel very put down. I've been cursed at. It's been a rough week, and I frankly don't feel like I deserve it.
Okay, kind of reflect back. So I hear that you're feeling frustrated, you're feeling put down, and you feel like you don't deserve it because you've just been trying to start these dialogues, and people are just upset that you're even having these, even suggesting these dialogues is upsetting to people, and that you've gotten a lot of criticism, been yelled at, and you think you don't deserve it, or frustrated by it.
That's true. Thank you. Or do you say check?
Well, you just continue with whatever you're saying. If you feel heard, if you don't, say it again.
I feel like
okay.
That. And I'll continue, I guess. The other thing I've been feeling this week is like, I'm really worried because a lot of people associated with me are also, the spotlight's on them because they're associated with me. Because I don't know why. I'm very confused. I'm very angry. I'm upset because I'm worried because I don't want my friends and people that have supported me, I've supported them, and it's been great. And then it's like suddenly, oh, I mean, now you get heat because you're in my chapter.
Yes, I hear some real concern that even people that you're associated with who are in your chapter, you're getting heat, and now they're getting heat too, just for you sort of being in association with you. And so I'm hearing real concern, and that they're being affected in this way.
Yes, check. And that is something that I never want to do. I never want to be a rabble rouser and bring up stuff that's gonna upset people, or drive people away, or make enemies, or make people that I even am associated with enemies of other people. Like, I don't want this so much that a few times I've thought of giving up. Like I thought like, okay, obviously I can't do this. Like I've lost hope, frankly. A few times I've just been like, should I even do this because I'm causing more trouble
So
than
you're really questioning yourself. Should you even be doing this? Because you like to bring people together. You're not be sort of upsetting people. Not you like want to bring people together, and so you have real concern if you should even be doing this because you're seeing everything that's kind of coming up around it, the criticisms, etc.
That's true. I would never want any harm to come to my friends, and I don't mean physical, but I mean like, they be drummed out or rumors about them or anything. Like I wouldn't want people's social capital be taken down 10 notches just because I had this crazy idea. And I say crazy a lot because it's like it's becoming evident that this is crazy and I suck for trying, and like why, and just yeah.
Yeah, so it's just like really difficult because you don't want your friends negatively affected, and you just want to have people have a dialogue, and saying it's crazy, it seems to be crazy, or it's being, and you're even thinking of quitting several times because of the kind of the impact, the consequences of this. And that was 5 minutes for the time.
Thank you. I feel heard, Edwin.
Okay, cool. I'll speak to Manuel then.
Okay, I'm listening.
Yeah. So, well, I am so appreciative of, I guess, I'm not sure the name I should, Leah, for bringing this, holding this, because it seems to take courage to foster dialogue. You'd think it'd be just a natural thing, but nowadays it seems to take real courage to kind of stand up for mutual dialogue and listening.
So I'm hearing your appreciation that this has even begun, which is wonderful. I'm hearing that that you're excited for the results to come out of it as well. Is that accurate?
Yeah, it's I'm willing to stand up and take whatever heat there is for mutual listening, mutual dialogue, because I thoroughly, deeply believe in it, and I just feel that we need to be assertive, about this too. We need to assert those values. If values are what you do, and if you believe in mutual listening, mutual dialogue, mutual empathy between all sides, it takes some assertiveness, and we get heat for it. We get people criticize it and have all kinds of excuses for not doing it.
Okay, so I'm hearing that you're willing to take the flack, so to speak, that people may inevitably give you for even trying to participate in this bridge building, is what it's been called. But that's what we have to do, and what you want to do is to assert the values by living the values instead of just talking about them and then doing something else. You are actively living the values.
Exactly.
And being assertive.
Yeah, with those values, because it's the core of democracy. Democracy doesn't work without what we're doing. If people can't listen to each other in a democracy, you may as well throw the democracy out. I mean, then you've got a dictatorship. So either you listen or willing, and you got to stand up for your democracy. So yeah, I'm pretty adamant about standing up, but do it in an empathic way. So if somebody says, hey, I don't want to listen to you, I'm willing to empathize with them not wanting to listen. I'm willing to listen to you about why you don't want to, support mutual empathy. So sort of the means are the end. We can't be like, denigrating, criticizing, the non-listeners, even though I sometimes do, because I get pissed off. But then I know at the core, we have to listen to everyone, even the people who are, maybe not interested in being in a dialogue.
Okay. Okay. That sounds like you're utilizing empathy and democracy is almost radical, it seems. But it's something that we have to do, is what you're saying, even if people don't want to use empathy, is like empathizing with someone who doesn't want to use empathy, and trying to figure that out, because that's part of the democratic process. And that can't be known if it's not said, and therefore it can't be heard. Would that be an accurate?
Yeah, it's like everybody needs to be heard. A democracy is about everybody having a voice, and here everybody's going to have their 5 minutes, multiple times to be heard. So I think the core of what we're doing right here is a democratic process, because you will get heard to your satisfaction. Yeah.
I just want to say that this is great. And I'm hearing that so there's the 5 minute aspect, that everyone gets a chance to be heard and to be to have their words be reflected back to them, but also have people observe and listen. It's wonderful part of the democratic process, and that this is in itself a democratic process, a democracy, a very small 5-person democracy.
It's the core of democracy. And there's a quote that I love from Jane Fonda. She got criticized for going to Vietnam and all that kind of stuff, and she ended up having empathy dialogue. Dialogues with veterans, and she talked about the difficulty of it. And she went through it, and when she came out of it, she said, "Empathy is revolutionary." So I think what we are doing here is the true revolution. This is listening to each other is so revolutionary.
Empathy is revolutionary. I hear that you did some research and heard about Jane Fonda going to Vietnam, right?
No, with Vietnam veterans. Because they were criticism of her, critical, and she sat down with veterans and had it in dialogue. And she came out of that and said, "This is revolutionary, to be empathically dialoguing." It was hard, it was difficult, but yeah. And that's my time.
Okay. Should I reflect back, or?
I feel fully heard, so you can select whoever you'd like to speak to.
Okay. I would like to speak to Daniel.
I'll listen to you, Manuel.
All right. Thank you, Daniel. So I've had quite an experience in the last few months in my realization that Extinction Rebellion even exists in this country. I started out doing a roadblock with my animal rights activist friends in Seattle. And they said, "Hey, do you want to join XR?" And I said, "Sure." "Do you want to bring it down to San Jose?" And I said, "Yeah, absolutely." And then a couple of weeks later, I was getting a call from Michelle and XRA, and I started to find out that there were two factions, XRA and XRUS.
So you recently learned about Extinction Rebellion just a couple months ago, and up in Seattle with your animal rights activist friends, and they asked you if you wanted to start a chapter down in San Jose, and you said, "Sounds great." And then you found out about the division between Extinction Rebellion US and XR America. And
well, I had just heard that there were two of them.
You heard that there were two of them.
Yeah.
And you've been trying to find a way, or find the reason for that.
Yeah. So I'll continue. Thank you. I feel heard. So when I was given the choice by Michelle, like she said, we're not gonna turn you away if you want to go join XRUS. We've actually redirected people to XRUS, if they feel like they aren't a good fit for XRA, and if they want to come back or try to do both, then we're totally cool with that. And I was like, "Oh, great, that's awesome." And she had told me that there were some conflicts that had arisen, like an email scandal, and in regards to contact lists, and there were rumors that people were embezzling funds. And so I had to essentially make a choice with all this information that was given to me.
So you talked to Michelle Weiner, who was on the launch team of XR America, about joining Extinction Rebellion. And she said that sometimes when people contact them, they direct them to XRUS, and that it's not XR America isn't a great fit for everyone. And that she said that there's been a lot of scandalous stuff, or rumors of scandals. And yeah.
And I just had to make a decision on that.
And you had to make a decision about
Thank
which if you wanted to keep going, create a chapter with XR America, or
Right, to be a mass mobilizer.
yes.
And so to continue on and to fast forward, today, up until today, I've experienced my attempts of trying to join the local XRUS chapter, which is South Bay. And on Keybase, they had a chat, and I was a part of that chat, and I was able to participate in in a meeting on a Saturday over Zoom. And I was told that the fourth demand was the most important part. And after that, and I had told them that I was with XRA and I wanted to be very transparent, and I was just curious to see if we could join together. And a few days later, I wasn't on the chat anymore, and I had no access to it whatsoever, and I didn't know why.
So you were on the Keybase chat with some XR US people, and you were sounds like you were banned from the channel, or you assumed you were banned. You were just kicked off of the channel, and
Yeah.
you don't know why.
Yeah. And it was kind of painful because it's not that I'm trying to get as many people to join XRA as possible and have them take the XRA stamp or badge or anything like that. I believe in Extinction Rebellion's mission, and their what XR Global has our chapter principles and values and the 3 demands, and then the 4th demand can be something that's pertinent to their geography. And what I experienced was being excluded, and it was there was not autonomy. There seemed to be some leadership aspects as well, and people weren't being heard. And so what I saw was and experienced was a direct violation of the XR principles and values.
So it sounds like you tried to do some bridge building yourself, and it didn't work out.
Yeah, I feel heard.
Cool. Is it Al? Will you hear me? Is it Al?
Yes, sorry. Also, I would have video running. I'm on mobile, and it seems to always tank the audio, unfortunately. So I'll have to do the picture. But yeah, I'll definitely hear you.
Okay. I think that this division between Extinction Rebellion America and XRUS just goes with the territory. The liberals have, liberalism, right? We eat ourselves alive. I mean, look at Biden and Bernie Sanders. When Bernie Sanders didn't win the nomination, all the Bernie people kind of turned on Biden. I think this division is just, it goes with the territory. But, yeah, can you reflect that?
Yeah. So you were saying that the division between XR America and XRUS is something that seems to happen a lot on the left side, so to speak, specifically like liberalism and the like. There is a tendency toward division and infighting and the like, and it kind of goes to the territory, is what you're saying.
Right.
Yeah,
And
good.
I consider myself progressive, And I feel silly myself because I'm just as much a part of, and I was in, you know, I went to a few meetings with XRSF Bay, and I was like mad about this fourth demand, right? I'm like, I'm Native American. I didn't see too many Native Americans. I felt like I was uncomfortable with it. And then so XR America seemed like it was the answer. But honestly, the more I'm with XR America, the more it feels like the same as XRUS, XRSFA. I mean, it's the same kind of actions, actually like this almost identical type of action planning.
Shall I reflect?
Yeah, please.
Okay. All right. So, so you're a person of Native American descent, and you had been on a couple meetings of XRSF Bay, and had felt like there was a lack of representation, and the way that they were proceeding wasn't very inclusive in some ways. So you felt uncomfortable there. So you went to XR America in the hopes that it would be different, and that they would be, you know, better in those categories. But it seems that they're much the same, and in fact, their actions are very, very similar to the kind of actions that are done in XRUS. Would that be an accurate reflection?
Yeah, basically, when I saw Extinction Rebellion in the UK, I saw them filling up the jails using nonviolent civil disobedience to put pressure on the government. And that's what I thought Extinction Rebellion America was going to be about. But it turns out that Extinction Rebellion America, the leadership of Extinction Rebellion America, is mostly just activists like the activists in XRSF Bay.
Would you like me to reflect that?
Please.
All right. So you're saying that the folks who helped found XR America and maybe are part of the leadership structure at XR America seem to do similar actions that are avoidant of the kind of actions that are done over in Extinction Rebellion in the UK, which is the kind of actions that attracted you to Extinction Rebellion to begin with, which was things like filling the jails up, that kind of thing. Would that be an accurate reflection?
Yeah. I just think, and I think, I feel bad about being one of the more vocal critics of XRUS, and then supporting XR America. When, I mean, they are different on paper, right? XR America and XRUS are different on paper. They have a different fourth demand. But the people involved in these groups, you know, if an outsider's perspective, like Manuel said, you wouldn't even know that there'd be two different groups if you just, oh, there's Extinction Rebellion. It's a lot of rebels, right? People that identify as rebels, a lot of activists. And that makes it tragic to me that it's my main thing that I'd want to be heard about is that it breaks my heart that we are just feeding into the same liberal, because this is this thing that has plagued the left. It seems like the right wingers, right? They can all get along like, we're just going to go with Trump. Like, we don't really agree with them, but we're going to go with them, you know? Liberals, it's like, no, they're not liberal enough, or they're not, you know, and it's tragic because we all are fighting for the same basic thing, because it's the government, I think, that is the opponent.
May I reflect that?
Go ahead.
Okay.
Time though, it is time. I know you're on mobile, but it's we're on time.
Oh, got it. Okay, roger that. So then, shall I reflect, Edwin, or shall we just go ahead
Yeah,
and move
just reflect. He gets his last reflection, and then it'll be your turn.
on? Roger that. Okay. All right. So, I beg your pardon, Daniel. I might miss a thing or two, but so you feel a sense of frustration and sadness in these actions and the kind of people who are taking part in XR America and in XRUS, because it is all the same kind of divisiveness and infighting that detracts from the actual actions that lead to change, and focusing on what is, the real, enemy, which is, you were saying, was, let's say, the government, for instance, or, things like that. And you were wishing that there was more coalescence on the left and the like, much like what is seen of the right. Like, maybe they don't believe in Trump 100%, but they're like, well, if that's the person, then that's the person, and they rally behind. Would that be an accurate reflection?
Yes, I feel heard. Thank you.
Oh, good. Yay.
So it's your turn to select someone.
Okay. I think I'll go ahead and reflect to Manuel. Or Manuel? Actually, is it Manuel or Manuel?
Manuel is
forgetting.
correct. I
Got
will
it.
listen to you.
Thank you. Okay. So for me, I am part of XRUS, and this has been brewing for a bit in the background because I am an essential worker and have been, up to my eyeballs in business, shall we say. And it's only recently I heard some details that, troubled me about, how XR America came into being and the like. Or I should say I was able to process those details that I've been told. Do you want to just reflect that back? Because I don't want to go too long.
Sure. It sounds like because you've been an essential worker, you haven't had a whole lot of time up until recently to gather and process and reflect on all of the information regarding the formation of XR America. Would that be accurate?
Yes.
In summary?
Yes.
Okay.
And so I find that all the people who are going to XR America, for whatever reason, I'm fine with them. I love that more people are getting involved. All the people who want to protest, who want to, be out in the streets and everything along those lines. People who are not, for lack of a better term, the upper management. I think my main hiccup is some of the things that have been referenced already, which was the, from what I've been told, the attempts at using the email list that was made by XRUS and taking that information and then promoting the creation of XR America as just another part of XRUS. And that is where I think the issue that I'm aware of has, played a part. That's the most concrete that I've heard of. And that's why I'm fine with everybody who wants to join, but the people who participated in that particular thing and perhaps other things like it sound like a bit troublesome, I suppose. Could I have that reflected?
Yeah, of course. So you're totally supportive of people joining XRA, even if they are from XRUS, because they're just doing what they can to be a part of actions and to participate and to get their voices heard out in the streets. But it sounds like there's some animosity. And is it okay that I use that word in regards to the upper management who participated in extracting the email list that XRUS created in order to promote XRA as part of XRUS? Is that?
Oh, are you asking?
You can
okay.
reiterate if it's accurate or not.
I'd say I think animosity would be correct. And the thing I'm
Okay.
saying is about like the people who are a part of XR America because they didn't know about XRUS existing to begin with. that if they joined up an XR org because they just thought XR is XR, then I totally understand, and happy that more people are trying to do what they can. I think my main issue is with the folks, kind of in the top, much like, a lot of companies, honestly. Most people are just trying to do what is best for their families and for those they care about. And it's mostly, the upper levels that are being a problem. And, I think, actually, I'll have that reflected back, if I may.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah, of course. So just to reiterate, it sounds like what you said was that the hiccup, the issue that you have is, and it's okay to have an issue, is that the upper management or the people who are in control or have created XRA, who are up at the top, have perhaps abused their power, and those are the people that you have the problem with because of other things that they may participate in as well in similar natures. But it's not the people who are joining XRA who don't know about all that stuff who are the problem. They're just trying to do what's best for their families.
That was the time too, 5 minutes.
Yeah,
Okay.
I'd say that's an accurate reflection. Thank you.
Okay, great.
So you're up, and well, just select whoever you want to speak to.
4 o'clock.
Is 4 o'clock okay?
It's fine. I was just reporting the time. I happened to notice. 4 o'clock.
Okay, great. I'll speak to Leah. Hi. So you've been crucial in my first connections with XRUS members in general, and I want to say that I appreciate you, and I appreciate your light and your love and compassion and your dedication towards empathy, and I want to thank you for helping to create this bridge building process with me, because it means a lot to me. Could I have that reflected?
Oh, that's hard. Thank you, Manuel. What you said is that you appreciate that I was your first connection that represented XRUS for you, and that you appreciate my my light and my compassion and my effort toward bridge building, and you really, really appreciate it, and you thanked me, and you're welcome.
Yes, thank you. I feel heard. I think there's also been some rumors that you have told me in our private messages in regards to one of our launch team members being a part of the Proud Boys, and also the just XRA being like far right wing extremists in general who are racist. And that's not from you. I know that you're just reflecting what you've heard, and I have reflected my discomforts in hearing that, but I think that it's just painful for me. It's like Chinese water torture. It's just like constant, like, oh, well, this is bothersome, something is wrong, people are saying these things, and you should know who you're associated with. But what I feel is that there are just rumors about the organization that I'm associated with without any substantiated facts. Could I have that reflected, please?
Yes. So what you've heard from me is you feel that you're hearing rumors, that you acknowledge that I did not originate the ideas of rumors, but they are very difficult to hear reflected back at you. And such as that one of your members might be a Proud Boy, or that XR America be a far right wing racist organization or something like that. All these rumors, and I have been reflecting them at you. And to you, it's like Chinese water torture. It is so painful, and you feel very hurt when I reflect these things at you.
Yes. So I am very glad for this bridge building process, and I certainly hope that it grows to include more individuals who have actually personally experienced and know the truth about where the break started to happen, because it's happened, as to my knowledge, over the course of the last like 8 months or so. And there's been a lot of change. There's been a lot of reaction on the people on the launch team in XRA in order to appeal to the people in XRUS. And it seems like bridge building has already been attempted several times before I joined in, and that it's been like systematically shut down from people who are in XRUS, and XRA just constantly tries to reach out. Could I have that reflected?
Yes. So I hear that you're curious as to what might happen if these talks proceed, that maybe you can get to the bottom of why XRUS seems to have so much difficulty communicating and coming to the table. And there's that resistance there that you really would like to get to the bottom of.
Yeah. And
It's time to, it'll come around again.
thank you.
Feel heard, I hope.
Yes, I do.
Oh, thank you. Oh, okay. Oh, it's my turn. Well, I don't know who to choose. Edwin, help me. Everyone's talked.
It's your choice. You just keep choosing whoever you want to speak to. You can, if everyone, so it's your choice. You can kind of mix it up a little bit. So you speak to someone different, or maybe you're drawn to speak to someone. So it's just your choice.
Okay, I need like a randomizer. Push a button. Okay.
There is a technique you can do is if you could say on a scale of 1 to 5, how strongly do you want to be picked? So 0, you're okay. 5 is like, I'm really dying to, be chosen. So that's a little.
Yeah, that's not fair to Al though, because she's not visual at the moment. So it's not fair. Anyway, I'll just pick Daniel. Daniel.
I was going to say 5. I was like, 5.
Feel it. Okay. Hi, Daniel.
Hi.
Hi. So I guess I have a deep feeling of disappointment right now in XR as an organization. I came to XR over a year ago. I got really fired up. I realized this was, I had that climate emergency realization and grief and process. I still have waves of grief. All of this stuff is so important to me. And I felt so strongly that, me and a couple of people looked at each other in a meeting and went, in a 350 meeting, by the way, let's start a chapter. And I have had lots of ups and downs in this chapter. It's been a lot of stress. It's been a lot of work. A lot of tossing and turning, thinking I can't do this anymore. Trying very hard to work with people. And now I'm here, and the trying very hard to work with people part is starting to grow. My observation is starting to grow, and it's like, does this ever end? I feel very, very disappointed in XR right now.
So you have been working really hard getting the XR South Bay chapter going, working with all these people, and you're just disappointed. You're disappointed in just the whole Extinction Rebellion organization, it sounds like. Not even XRUS or XRA, just disappointed that we can't all get together.
Yeah, I feel heard with that. And like, I feel like a lot of times when I hear conversations about how XR should proceed, I get so frustrated. I just want to scream at them, because it's all this talking about like, it's hierarchical talk. It's like using the words upper management or affiliation, or, I mean, this is the tyranny of affiliation. This is the tyranny of hierarchy that the original DNA of XR was supposed to be built against. And if we are all rebels and we're all independent, the power is supposed to be from the ground up, from the people up. It's not supposed to be imposed down, even sideways. That's not the direction it's supposed to be. The original founders of XR and the DNA of XR, I really sense and feel that it's built on independent thought and rebels. And then I talk to people and they're not rebels. They're like, XRUS says I can't do this, or I can't say this, or you can't accept this member because, then you'll be, or are you on XRA side? Like all these restrictions and limits and stuff. And it's like, I feel so shackled. I just want to break off the shackles and say, fuck all of you.
So you're very frustrated. You're talking to people, and everyone is worried about the chain of command, right? Someone it's a very centralized leadership, or central. There's centralized, dictators, I guess would be a word for it, and that Extinction Rebellion is supposed to be a grassroots movement. It's supposed to be decentralized, and that's where Extinction Rebellion is supposed to get its power from. And that's not what you've been experiencing. And it makes you frustrated. You just want to curse. And yeah.
Thank you. I feel heard with that. All this talk about rebellion, and we're all going to rise up, and I feel like the strength of that needs to be building at a time when so many heartbreaking things are happening all over the world, to people, to animals, to the earth, to everything. It's escalating, just like we know it's happening. We all know why it's happening. It's an exponential curve. And now is a time when there's a lot of stress, and it would be a shame. It would be just a fucking shame if now were the time for XR not to be unified and working together. So many strengths and so many different people. And why the fuck can't I have anybody I want be a member of my chapter? Why am I restricted? Why can't I do anything I want? If it's gonna end in people, and why can't I go to an XR America event? Why can't I go to an XR America action? That would be great. I would love to do that. I would love to do that, free of the tyranny of affiliation and free of any sort of rumors that may start, or hate and be directed at me because of doing that. I want to be able to be free.
So you're very much affected by the breakdown of or the ecological and climate emergency, how there's so many animals going extinct and the mass suffering go along in the world, that it seems it's really hard for you to understand why can't Extinction Rebellion come together? Why is there this fighting over what seems like petty differences, like small differences, when the challenge we're facing is so enormous that we need all hands on deck, but that's not what's happening. And you're very frustrated. You want to be able to, you feel like you're being held back from being able to participate and address the emergency. And that is, it sounds like it's something that's causing anger.
Thank you. I feel heard.
So you choose, Daniel.
All right. I'm gonna choose Edwin. I'm gonna choose you, Edwin. I
Okay.
choose you.
I'm listening.
All right. I'm gonna think about what I want to say. I feel really appreciative, Edwin, that you did this today with us. I want to be honest with you. When I first found out about empathy circles, I discounted the idea. I was like, what? This seems like another, something that, about these, an environmentalist thing, right? Another environmentalist thing that these environmentalists have been doing the last 30 years that has absolutely failed. But it's actually, I've been checking out the videos, and I can tell my whole idea, I was completely wrong about empathy circles. I think empathy circles are powerful.
Mm-hmm. Oh, so I'm hearing an appreciation for what we're doing here, and that when you first heard about empathy circles, you sort of dismissed it and thought, oh, this is just more long-term environmental stuff that doesn't work. But then you've been sort of checking it out, and you're just coming to the conclusion that this is very powerful.
Yeah. I think that empathy is, I think, and this is the best way to express empathy, I think, because I think a lot of people discount empathy. Like when I say have some empathy, like I tell my dad to have some empathy because he's a Trump supporter. Have some empathy. I'm not really an empathetic son of a bitch. You know what I mean? I'm not an empathetic, type of guy. And I think that's toxic. And I think empathy is the most powerful quality that you can have as a human.
Yeah, so if you tell your father, yeah, you need to be more empathic, and that's sort of a toxic way of kind of relating to him, and it sounds like you're sort of comparing it to what we're doing, so this mutual listening, and he's seeing the sort of the power of this.
Yeah. Just listening. I think that in the social media culture, and it's not just us, right? It's Facebook's platform is created to be an echo chamber. So you're only seeing stuff that agrees with you, and that's all you're getting fed. And if you see something you don't like, you block that person, or I don't like to see this. But empathy isn't just about empathizing with people you agree with. It's about empathizing with having empathy for people in general.
Yeah, so you're seeing that platforms like Facebook are creating these bubbles of people just all agreeing with each other, and that empathy is about bridging those bubbles and getting to kind of all people, kind of connecting with everyone.
Yeah.
And you see the value and the importance. Sounds like that really resonates as a value for you.
Yeah. Yeah. Value and values, right? It's like you said earlier, Ed, when you said values are what we do. It's the things that we do. And just to bring that back around, empathy, having empathy for each other. I think that's what bridge building is all about, is having empathy to eventually build that bridge. Because right now, I feel like it's more or less on both sides. There's XR America feels like XRUS is terrible, and XRUS is saying XR America is terrible. And the whole reason that happens is because there's no empathy.
Mm-hmm. So you're seeing that the sides kind of criticizing each other is because they don't have empathy for each other. And if you can sort of have empathy for each other, it's sort of maybe the building blocks of of building those bridges.
Right. Yeah. Because empathy is how you can understand, right? Because I'm sure there's a lot of, it's like walking a mile in someone else's shoes is how I like to think of empathy, is empathing, feeling like someone else. And I think that if we can build these bridges with XRUS, that we could really be a strong organization, because then we would know, that if we can overcome this, right, we would have that a solid foundation. Like, okay, we know not to go, we would know the things to look out for.
That was the time, but I'll just give a final reflection. So I'm hearing that if the sides could sort of really empathize with each other and overcome this division, it would be sort of a model that, hey, we can do this here, so we can do it in other places. So it'd be very constructive if we could overcome these differences and model a different way of relating.
Yeah. It's about understanding that, if we can, because right now, I don't know if it still says it on the Extinction Rebellion US website, but it says our fourth demand, XR America, is a all lives matter demand. And if we can come back from this, and that pissed off a lot of people in XR America, but if we can come back from this, then I really think that we could really reduce suffering in a major way.
Mm-hmm. So again, if we could come back from this division, overcome this division, we could reduce suffering. And yeah, that was the time. So
yeah, thank you, Edwin.
Okay.
I feel heard.
Great. Al, can I speak to you?
Absolutely.
Okay. Yeah, something that was sitting with me was how Daniel, while before, talked about the dysfunction of liberalism. It's always this argumentation. And I do think that that's something that's missing from, liberal is the empathy. That I think that this value of empathy is missing.
Shall I reflect that?
Yes, please.
Okay, so you were reflecting on what Daniel had said. It was very interesting to you. It was how the liberal spectrum, the left in our country, have a tendency to operate in a way that seems to be lacking empathy, and that's why there's the infighting that seems to be. Is that an accurate reflection?
Yeah, exactly. And it's that there's this thought that somehow if I just create rational thought and ideas, that these ideas through reason are going to sort of win, and then you're just going to see the brilliance of my idea and everybody's just going to accept it. And that type of reason I don't think works. I think what really works is the sides, people just kind of listening to each other, empathically listening to each other. So it's a different foundation instead of it being, so-called reason. And so which is sort of a battle, that it's this empathy that we're doing. And it's very time consuming, but it's the only thing that I think really works in the long run.
I feel I might not do this justice, so feel free to interrupt me if I get something incorrect. But so you're saying that with, empathy, it is crucial to helping us keep from ending up in these battles, ending up in these infighting scenarios as much as we do. And I feel like I might have missed something else. I beg pardon.
Yeah, I guess I was trying to go to kind of this idea of liberalism. And on the left, there tends to be all this fighting between groups, and it's that everybody's like valuing reason. It's like, if we just use reason with each other, we're going to, solve our problems, where it really doesn't work. I think what kind of the starting point is empathy, and reason can come later, but empathy has to be the first step. Reason is great, but it's got to be grounded in mutual empathy as the first step.
Okay, shall I reflect that?
Yes, please.
So what you're saying is that a tendency on the left is to lean on this idea that if we use logic, we can use that to problem solve. When in reality, the thing that really underlies actual problem solving is being in empathy with each other, reaching out human to human and connecting. And then logic, overlays that and is a part of that, but it is not the foundation.
Exactly. Yeah, at least that's my experience, and I've seen it because we have this empathy tent, and we've done it for years. We were back at the first battles of Berkeley, when the political right came to Berkeley, and then the left countered. And we had the empathy tent there. We offered listening to both sides, and we tried to bring the sides together to have dialogue. And I really see that we need sort of like a new movement. It's sort of an empathy movement. It's based on mutual listening as a foundation, because unless we have that as a foundation, a lot of these other projects aren't going to work.
So what I'm hearing you saying is that you've been doing empathy circles or things like it for quite some time now. And in your experience, that's the most, important thing for any movement. In fact, it should be integral to any movement going forward for it to be a successful one. Would that be an accurate reflection of what you
very
said?
foundational. It's sort of like the foundational first step. You got to really get this down, and we're doing it right here. Right here, we're doing it. Right. It's not like, hey, this is something we should be doing. And so the means are the end. So we're actually doing it. We're not talking about it. We're actually doing it here.
And so what I'm hearing you say, and I forgot to mention this in the last one that we just did, that you almost think that it needs to be its own movement, and that it's a practice that's just, you could just do it. You don't have to necessarily build up all this fanfare around it. Just doing it and getting it, just starting it, just trying it, is doing it essentially.
Yeah.
Yes?
Yeah. I feel heard. Thank you. Fully heard. Thank you.
Oh, fabulous. Okay. Oh, is it the 5-minute mark? And shall I choose then, Edwin?
Yes, it's your choice, whoever you want.
Oh, okay, cool. Then I'll go with I guess Leah, because I haven't talked with her, although I get to talk with her frequently. I haven't got to talk with her, in this particular moment. Would you be amenable to that, Miss Leah?
Well, listen.
Cool beans. Okay. So let me see. Yeah, I agree. For me, empathy is hugely important, and I think someone I listened to a lot recently, among other people, is Brené Brown, and she talks, at least in a TED Talk that was posted a long time ago, about how we're the most in-debt, obese, medicated cohort in American history, and there are a variety of reasons for that, as best we understand it, and I think that a lack of human connection really helps underpin a lot of our struggles, both interpersonally, just in, relationships with ourselves, with our family, and broader, to organizational relations as well. We approach it with a certain lack of openness, really a lack of vulnerability that is huge. I'll let you reflect that back.
Okay. So you kind of bring the idea of this empathy back around to a recent TED Talk you heard by Brené Brown, in which she referred to Americans as in debt and obese and over-medicated. And the reasons for that are that it's like a breakdown of empathetic communications and hearing each other. Am I hearing that? Am I getting that?
That's some small changes that the current group of Americans alive at this time right now are the based on records that we've got at hand, the most in debt that we've ever been, like, in our lives. Like, these various markers of health are there as not great. And so let me see that it's really a lack of vulnerability, of lack of human to human connection that helps underpin that. And then, like, my I guess that
vulnerability and human connection, but I'm correcting myself. Thank you. Go ahead.
Sure. Yeah. I think there is, like, when it comes to at least what I've heard, because I've only been a part of XR for a year, and only involved in my local chapter, so I didn't. My knowledge is fairly narrow, like firsthand knowledge. From the people who were involved, I have gotten to speak to one or two of them who seem to have been present for the whole unfolding of the folks who were part of XRUS, who decided to go ahead and create XR America along with I think it was Roger Helm, pretty sure. And I've heard the emotions that came with that, and yeah, just the best that one can do sometimes is just rely on the information you're only able to get secondhand, especially when it comes to the emotional realm. So I guess I'll leave that to be reflected, because I'm losing my thread.
You're saying is that you have been with XR for what you consider to be a short time, a year, and in that time you have run into a couple of different people who you've heard kind of the XR America story, and you've run into a couple of people who have joined or become part of XRUS, and they have told you their story, and then I think I kind of lost you.
That's fair. I think I was losing myself a little bit. I think the people that I gotten to speak to fairly recently were people who've been were part of the group that helped found XRUS, and who were there when the people who were XRUS members decided to leave to form XR America, along with some other folks, I think. And yeah, I think a lot of the tension that I've experienced has been, because we as a society have struggle to be human to human, to be vulnerable with each other. And I think that's part of the reason why the folks have seemed not closed up, reserved, I think. Yeah, would be how I'd say that. And I'll have that reflected.
Yeah. So you feel like you were there at the XRA XRUS split, because recently you spoke to some people who were there at XRUS point when XRA split, and you think that the reason, some of the underlying factors there have been a lack of ability to be vulnerable with each other, and there's been sort of a emotional communication gap there that you sense.
That was the time too.
Did I get that?
Let's see. Yes, I also really liked your turn of phrase, the emotional gap in communication, or your particular turn of phrase was fabulous. I was one small correction is that I don't feel like I was there, at all, because I definitely wasn't. This is all like secondhand, I guess. It's more like it's about as good information as one could ever get. Fair. Regarding stuff like that, except for maybe a few finite examples, but yeah.
Fair enough. Thank you for that correction, that clarification. It is 4:33. do we want to take one more turn, or what do we want to do, Edwin?
How are you with time? It's, I could go a bit longer, but maybe.
Love to speak one more time.
Okay. Okay, Manuel, what was your take on it?
I'm just gonna let Leah choose first because I might step out.
Okay, so let's do one more and we can close for today and with you, Leah, and then we can always pick it up going. You know.
Right. Okay. I'm just gonna flip it back on Al then, I guess. Hi, Al.
Hello.
You're being challenged as a listener. I'm sorry. But anyway, so I guess what I'm left with is a curiosity moving forward as to the fourth demand, because I know that when I talk about Extinction Rebellion America to people who aren't members of Extinction Rebellion America, I get, oh, well, it's all about the fourth demand, obviously. And then I go, okay, so what's the fourth demand? And then I know it, but I ask anyway. It's the just transition. It's the Black, Indigenous people of color, poor communities, global South, affected by all this, justice, climate justice. And so I think that I'm on team climate justice. I'm on team just transition. And so I ask the question, and they go, yeah, that's the reason. That's the reason why Extinction Rebellion America. Why wouldn't it? Doesn't make sense to us why they wouldn't take the fourth demand. And so based on that, we're just going to assume that they don't want those things, I guess. And I'm sort of curious and questioning to get kind of to the bottom of this issue. Reflect, please.
Okay. All right. Let me see if I can do it justice. So, and again, feel free to leap in and correct me if I'm off base. But okay. So you have heard about all of this stuff between XR America and XRUS, and you're kind of curious about the inception of it, kind of how it came to be. Or no, I don't feel like that's accurate.
No, you're on the right track. Keep going.
Am I? Oh, okay. The part in the afternoon, I start to lose my mind. Yeah, that this has been a frustration and sadness for you, because it just feels like disconnection. I don't want to say for the sake of disconnection, but yeah, I can't think of another way to couch it. Beg pardon.
It's okay.
And I feel like I'm missing parts.
Yeah, a point that you missed out was that I feel like I definitely do accept the fourth demand, that it seems logical to me. Again, the fallacy of just saying something logical. But the racial justice and climate justice being linked, and letting Black, Indigenous people of color lead and guide is crucial. That I agree with those points of the fourth demand. And I'm curious as to why it would now still be separating Extinction Rebellion into two factions.
Okay, shall I reflect that?
Sure.
Okay, so the faction stemming from what seems to be around the fourth demand and iterations of the fourth demand for XR America and XRUS is kind of is confusing and makes you curious about if what exactly the difference is there, and why does it have to be such a sticking point, and that kind of thing. Like, you understand that it is important, and that if everybody just accepts the fourth demand for XR America, and then everybody in XR US accepts the fourth demand for XR US, why we can't just work together. Would that be accurate?
Yes, that would be accurate. And I feel like if the option is to build bridges or fight, like, over this fourth demand, than really getting to the bottom of asking each other questions about how each other feels about the global South and Black, Indigenous, and people of color, and these issues of climate justice, and really talking about those things. Like, my choice, building bridges or fighting, obviously is building bridges, so that we can really get to the bottom of this, because from my experience, personally, I don't see Extinction Rebellion America folks saying that they don't believe in those things, that they seem to be not racist in any way. So that my confusion continues.
Okay. So your experience with XR American folks is that they seem to fully support the fourth demand, as anybody does, in or at least the spirit of the fourth demand that is reflected in for both XRUS and even XR America, that it's essentially the same, and that they really seem to. No, well, I feel like I just mischaracterized that. Sorry for the poor phrasing, but that essentially that everybody in XR America is, not racist, and to the same degree that everybody in XR US are, like they're both operating on the same operating system, so to speak. And
Yes, one clarification from my limited experience with XR America. I look forward and I'm curious to have a greater depth of experience so that I really know that that's true.
okay,
Yeah.
okay. All right, so then you want to gain more experience with XR America folks, and see, if we are just basically all on the same page after all, and
Exactly.
seeing if if it comes to fighting and building bridges, you would prefer to build bridges. That's where your wheelhouse is.
Very
That, yeah. Okay. Did I
Thanks.
miss anything?
heard. No, I feel heard. Thank you so much.
Okay, so we wanted to maybe bring it this circle to an end, and this is just the beginning. This is just sort of get the ball rolling, as I understand it, and you're reaching out to other people, and we can have, it can be one a week or more or whatever. So we're trying to kind of set up a series of empathy circles to keep the discussion going and growing. And so that's how I understand this, and I'm glad to support it and do what I can. So if you want to schedule times, or just let me know what you want to do, or
There's an information piece I need to acquire. It's when the XRUS meetings are, because I heard from someone in it that they meet on Fridays and Sundays. So I think this time might be inadvertently overlapping with the meeting time in XRUS, which would shoot us in the foot in terms of inviting those people. So I need to get that data point and get back to you, Edwin, and make sure that we have a good time. But
okay, well, this seemed like a really good start. I mean, I wasn't sure to begin with if anyone's going to show up, and I was just delighted that we had 5 of us, which is actually a good amount. 5 or 6 is, kind of the most we want to begin with, and it gives everyone a chance to be heard more, and and get familiar with the process. And what I find is, about 2 hours. We went for about an hour and a half, not quite here. Today, 2 hours is a good amount so that everyone feels heard. And if it's really a conflict, if we really have some really passionate, people from both sides, this was quite tame.
Yeah.
People were very listening, very, this was not a lot of conflict here, a lot of listening going on. That about a 3-hour circle is good if it's going to be a really conflictual, because it takes some time to sort of wrap the conflict. So I think this is a great start, and I'll be posting this and send you the link, and you can show it as a model of for participants what they can expect.
And as I said earlier when we started, thank you so much Edwin, for holding this. I really, really appreciate you. I appreciate you, Manuel. I appreciate you, Daniel. And Al, I really appreciate that you came. I want to make sure that I do my best next time to improve the invitation process as I stated, maybe make it more open, make the invitation more neutral. And hopefully, my hope is that we can get some real conversation going between people that are, have feelings about Extinction Rebellion in America that need exploring, that we can get some real talk going. So, but this was wonderful. Thank you
Yeah,
so
a
much.
lot of gratitude for your organization and everyone for taking part, organizing this, and for everyone taking part. So
Yes, thank you, Leah, for leading. Thank you, Edwin, for showing up and being awesome, and also Daniel, and of course Manuel.
Yay.
Thank you.
All right.